In this video, we're learning about SSH. I'm sure many of you have used it, but you're not very sure about how it works. First, let's talk about what it is, because it's quite possible that some of you don't know what it is. And then we'll go down deeper into how it works. So let's say you build a virtual machine on something like Google Cloud Platform or AWS or Azure or DigitalOcean, and you now want to host your software onto that virtual machine. That means you'll need to perform a few steps, right? You'll have to maybe install Golang or a database or a front-end technology and start up that software. And how do you do that? How do you now log into that machine? How do you start working on that machine almost as if you're working on your own PC? So you're used to installing a backend technology like Golang or a front-end technology like React.js and a database server like Postgres. You're used to installing all of these and setting up everything via the CLI. How do you access the CLI or the terminal of a virtual machine that's hosted on a cloud? And doing that is the most common use case for SSH. So what exactly is SSH? It's a secure, authenticated, multiplex tunnel over TCP. Okay, we'll dig down into each of these words in some time, and it's usually used for remote shell access. Like I mentioned, when you have a virtual machine, you want to access the terminal of that machine so that you can go ahead and install any software that you want, or set up your own little project as a web server that anyone can access globally. You'd want to have remote shell access to that particular virtual machine. And also you'd need secure command execution. So you know about command execution, like running any command like cd, mkdir, that's command execution. But how does SSH lead to secure command execution? That's something we'll see in a minute. Now we're using TCP, and we have all learned about TCP earlier in this playlist. By the way, this is an ongoing long playlist about system design concepts. If you haven't seen the earlier videos of this series, make sure you check out the playlist. So over TCP, you're going to have a secure connection, and it's going to get authenticated. That means we know it's you and not someone else using this. And it's a multiplexed tunnel. That means you can have multiple connections over TCP, which can sometimes be a challenge. All right, so here I have 4 different use cases of SSH and 4 different ways SSH is used. Now let's look at each of these one by one. So the first one is when you're the client and you're working on your local machine, and you have an SSH client, something like Termius maybe, running on your system. Then you have an SSH tunnel, and using that you connect to a remote server. This is the virtual machine that I was talking about. There the SSH server is running, and between the SSH client and the SSH server there is a tunnel, secure tunnel that's running. And this is the remote server where the web server is running, and this could be something like Golang in our case. So the client listens on localhost 8080, which actually is listening on localhost 80 of the server. So you feel like you're working on your local machine, but you're actually working on a virtual machine. And that's usually how you've worked with SSH connections. So you start off from your local address and SSH into a remote address with your user and server credentials. Now the second method is the exact opposite. So you give access to something that's running on your local machine to another remote machine. So let's learn about it a little bit more. SSH can also be used for the exactly reverse use case, to expose your server that you're running on your local system to the internet remotely, where anyone can connect to a gateway which forwards traffic to you over the SSH tunnel. This way you don't reveal your IP address. The user interacts with the gateway, and only the gateway knows your details. So only the gateway will know your details. Okay? And a great use case for this is webhook. So if you're running a local web server and you want it to be available publicly to the internet, and especially for something like webhooks where someone needs to call your APIs, then you'd want to have an SSH tunnel where a remote server can connect to your local server, where you run the SSH client and the remote server still is running the SSH server, and the SSH tunnel is working in reverse. So this one is listening on 8080, and the gateway is actually hitting localhost 80 on the client side. Now let's look at a third use case. So as an extra layer of security, a great pattern to use is something called as a bastion server. If there are any nefarious elements on the network, they end up taking down the bastion server and not the real server. This increases availability significantly. So what's happening here is you're the client, okay, and you're running the SSH client on your local system, and you're still listening on 8080. Via the SSH tunnel, you're connected not to the server directly, but to another server called the bastion server. The bastion server is running the SSH server. So if there is a nefarious actor and they have access to this SSH tunnel, and they try to take down the server, then they end up taking down the bastion server, not the actual server. So this is all in a private network where these two machines are separated physically, or virtually if they're VMs. So this SSH server and the remote server are on two different VMs. And if there's an attack, the Bastion server goes down, but the web server still remains intact. And we can easily replace the Bastion server later if required. Now, the fourth pattern to use SSH tunnel is the Bastion server concept, but in reverse, wherein at the client side, you have a private network. You have the SSH client running on a separate machine and the local web server running on a separate machine. And the gateway is listening on 8080, but making a request on 80. And it's going through this SSH client. So if there's an attack, the SSH client goes down and nothing happens to the web server. So just like the Bastion server example, we can use the same thing in this reverse scenario as well, where the SSH client is on a separate machine and it's in the same private network as our machine. So it's on the same private network as our machine that we're exposing to the internet. This protects our machine from attacks and again enhances availability. I want to take a quick minute to tell you something very important. I'm sure you know that CTOs don't write a lot of code. So what do they actually do during the day? They actually work on system design and architecting systems. And not just CTOs, but anyone in a leadership positions like VP of engineering, director, they're all involved with planning and architecting systems. Now, directors and VPs are also delivery side where they have to manage people, but there are also technical VPs and directors. If you're someone who has experience in the industry and you see yourself moving up on the technical ladder, becoming someone who's responsible for orchestrating and architecting systems and not necessarily people management, then I have the perfect cohort program for you. It's a 3-month advanced system design cohort. 20 people have already joined it. Everyone has a lot of experience. Some of them have even 25 years of experience. It's a great community for you to come and hang out. If you think you're a good fit, there's a link in the comments and in the description of this video. Fill it up. We'll check if you're a great fit and we'll set up some time with you. Now let's get back to the video. So now we know what SSH is and how it's used. It's time to get deeper into how it works. So we look at a process diagram that'll show us the handshake and also the working of an SSH tunnel. Now in the previous videos, like for SSL and TLS, I've covered handshakes and the internal workings in a separate video after the concept video. But in this video, I'm combining both of them together because I know that you're more comfortable with these handshake process diagrams by now. So we have the SSH client, which is you. You're running the client program on your system, and you want to connect to a server, the SSH server, and there's a tunnel in between. You first establish the TCP connection, and then you negotiate the supported version between the SSH client and the server, just like we used to do for SSL. We also negotiate the supported algorithms, and then let's say if it's RSA or any such algorithm, we generate key pairs. Then we send the public key of the SSH client to the server, and we calculate the session key. Then we initiate a login request, and if we found a matching key, we'll encrypt the message with the public key of the SSH client because we had sent the public key in step number 5. After that, we run an encrypted random number and we decrypt this data using a private key. So we're encrypting a random number just to see if the encryption works. We're not actually sending real data by now. So we decrypt that using private key of the client, and then we send this decrypted data back to the server. This verifies the client's decryption is correct, right? And this is why we use a random number and not actual data, because we want to test encryption at the side of the server and decryption at the side of the SSH client to see if everything works properly. And only once it's verified, only then we can start the actual transaction of data. This is when the session request and response starts, and you can start sending encrypted commands. Okay, this is where it all comes down to using secure command execution. So each of these commands are decrypted using the session key, and you send the encrypted result and you decrypt the result using session key. So each of those commands, if you scroll back, if I just take you back to the secure command execution point, this is what we are getting to. This is what we're talking about here. So we have the local server and the remote server, right? And there is a secure tunnel between them. There could also be a firewall between them, but we're still able to connect using the local server to the remote server easily with the help of SSH. So in this video, we understood what SSH is. We understood 4 different patterns of using SSH commonly. And we also understood how it works from a handshake and the actual data transaction standpoint. And with this, we have gained a lot of knowledge about various different systems like VPN, SSH, and various different concepts like SSL and TLS, which keep our systems secure and stable. In the next video, we want to look at something interesting. It's called the Tor network. So I'll see you in the next one.